Coreweave is sitting at $163. Nvidia continues to dominate in the recent benchmark, and AMD finally showed up. I'll explain a little bit more in today's episode, so let's get started.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so let's start off with Coreweave. The stock was up another 8.3%, $163 right now. This is insane. This is a stock that's just not giving up. Again, I'm still going with my basis where I don't mind continuing to dollar cost average every step up, as this is a stock that I believe has seen some crazy movements. 1 month the stock is up over 219%. But Coreweave did announce some pretty cool solutions today. So today what we're going to look at is a benchmark that was released today, and this is going to be ML Commons benchmark. And for those that are not familiar, if you're new to this kind of AI game, if you're new to this semiconductor game, there is a benchmark that happens a few times a year. Sometimes this benchmark is on training solutions, training AI, and sometimes it's on inferencing the solution. Today, we had an update to the training solution. And the great thing about benchmarks, right, it's pretty much a public domain. Everybody gets to share what they're working on. They get to do these benchmarks, and you get to see the actual results. There's no first-party number fudging. It's all what the results are. So it's a great way to see who is actually the leader and by how much. And in this type, again, it's mainly for AI. You're going to see different types of accelerators reported in this benchmark. You're going to see AMD. AMD actually showed up for the first time. We'll talk a little bit more, but they have the MI300 and the MI325. Nvidia showed up with the Blackwell GB200, the B200, the H100, the H200, and Google showed up with the TPU. So a lot of cool things. We're going to look at the charts in a bit. But first, I want to kind of look at the press release that each company announced. So Coreweave, Nvidia, and IBM submit the largest ever MLPerf results on Nvidia's GB200 Grace Blackwell Superchip. So in collaborations with these two players, Coreweave, Nvidia, and IBM delivered the largest ever, like I mentioned, using 2,496 Blackwell GPUs running. This is about 34 times larger than any other submission from cloud provider, highlighting the large scale and readiness of Coreweave's cloud platform for today's demanding workload. So again, remember these benchmarks, anybody can come up and play, and Coreweave came up and showed that not only are we really good at what we do, but look at these public benchmarks. We were the largest cluster to do any form of training, 34 times bigger. So if you're looking out there to get some form of AI training done, Coreweave is going to be the best place, because as you can see, we are ready to scale at these massive levels. Now, we are going to see that this kind of GB200 system with around 2,500 GPUs did kind of the Llama 3.1 405 billion parameter model in just 27.3 minutes. Now, it's not a complete model. It's kind of like a broken down, but it kind of gives you the overall understanding of what is happening. It's not like you can kind of train or train the model in that short amount of time. There is some fine tuning happening, but this is in 27.3. And this is pretty amazing. Those were the best results ever. And when you compare against submissions from other participants across similar cluster size, Coreweave delivered 2 times faster training performance than other players. So what you are seeing here, I do believe one of the excitement is Coreweave showing that, look, we're the best cloud provider right now. If you want anything, you have to come up to us. And that does create some form of bullish sentiment. If you're hearing first, Nvidia and largest all in one press release from Coreweave, it kind of creates that bullish sentiment. Now, the second thing is Coreweave does appoint a new kind of top leadership. Coreweave appoints Ernie Rogers to strategic leadership role to drive next phase of financing growth. The AI hyperscaler today announced the appointment of Ernie Rogers as chief architect of strategic financing. Roger brings decades of expertise in financial strategy and operational leadership. So it does seem, if you look at it, there is some history between this guy and Coreweave. He actually helped with the IPO process, and he knows the ins and outs of Coreweave. So it made a very smart move for Coreweave to do this. But it just showcases that Coreweave is growing at these random levels, that they want someone with massive experience dealing with these probably billion-dollar deals, senior notes, and whatever type of financing. And this guy makes his main goal is to make sure that it's done the smartest way. It's the most strategic way. Now, I'm a little bit confused here. What is the point of this guy versus the CFO, right? You already have a CFO. Is this supposed to be like an upgraded CFO working under the CFO to make sure the strategic financing are great for the long-term potential? Regardless, though, what it tells me is CoreWeave is looking at ways to build more money in the future. And if it needs more money, it's most likely because it wants to build more and more AI data centers. So while I do see the excitement for CoreWeave, I still want to say just be careful. Even though the stock is ripping, it is up nearly 4x since when I bought it. So I am super, super excited. It actually is over 4x since I bought it. Unfortunately, I don't have my full position, but I still hold a nice amount, a few hundred shares. Now, if we kind of look here at Nvidia was pretty much flat for the day. With Nvidia, it's again coming out mainly with the MLPerf benchmark. Nvidia also did have a conference today, but I wanted to look more into this benchmark, maybe in another episode for later tonight or maybe tomorrow morning. I'll do the conference instead and just kind of look at what maybe Nvidia shared during that conference that we might have learned that we didn't learn during the earnings. So I will be covering that. And again, if you want to support the channel, there's three easy ways. Subscribe and hit the thumbs up. You can also check out my free newsletter, whatthechiphappened.com. Completely free. The link is down below. Or check out my special offers at fool.com/Jose or finchat.io/Jose. That second one has a very special offer, 2 weeks free. No need to put a credit card, and it's my favorite platform to use. So if you want to check out and support the channel, that is the best way. Now let's jump back in here to Nvidia. So again, Nvidia was pretty much flat. We're going to learn more about this benchmark. So Nvidia platform delivers the higher performance at scale on every benchmark. So we're going to see in this benchmark, it's not just one model that's training or kind of a test. There's a lot of different models, and that's very crucial to remember because certain accelerators, AMD, only kind of show the results on one model. Nvidia says, nope, we're going to go big and we're going to actually show the results on all the models and we're going to do the benchmark. And in every benchmark, we're going to come up as the top dog. So I think that showcases how confident and how strong Nvidia is in this place. Now, Nvidia platform was the only one that submitted results on every training benchmark. Now, one of the cool ones that they kind of talked about on the new Llama 3.0 405 billion pre-training, which is the one we were just talking about with CoreWeave, they delivered 2.2 times greater performance compared to their previous generation at the same scale. So you are seeing how this Blackwell is 2 times better than the Hopper in training. And some of you might be wondering, Jose, I thought the Blackwell was about 30 times better. This is training, right? The other performance is on inference, which is really crucial. And that's why the Blackwell platform is great for the inferencing world. But it is showcasing that the Blackwell platform is also great for the training world. Now on Llama 70 billion, which is a way smaller parameter, for the DGX B200, it did about 2.5 times more performance compared to a submission using the same number of GPUs in the prior round. So again, NVIDIA is just showcasing here that they continue to be a leader and their Blackwell products continue to dominate. They also have a technical blog. I'm not going to kind of go through it completely. I'm just going to show kind of the important stuff. Here are the benchmarks. Here's the time to training. And NVIDIA kind of showcases that for each of those large language models, they kind of give you how many GPUs they did and what the overall Blackwell speed up was versus the Hopper. In every platform here, you're going to see at least the 2x versus the Hopper using the same amount of GPUs, right? So that's very crucial. Using the same amount, you kind of see those improvements here in Stable Diffusion. You get about 2.6. Here in kind of neural network GNN, you get about 2.25. So the key takeaway, Blackwell is not only great for inference, it's a way better machine for training. Now we're going to jump here to AMD before we look at the overall benchmark. We're just looking at the press release, but AMD was up roughly 1% on the day. Now, for AMD, the first thing before we jump into this benchmark is they did announce that they are acquiring Brium to strengthen their open AI software ecosystem. Now, let me just say this is most likely not a big acquisition in forms of monetary value because we didn't really see the results of the numbers. And Nothing that's going to mess up the balance sheet for AMD. Now, AMD is making a lot of these acquisitions to continue to improve its software stack, its ROCm platform, its ability to kind of have developers in its ecosystem. And one of the best ways is to acquire companies that already have some form of ecosystem, some form of strength, and some form of developers behind it. So that's the overall goal here. And that's what AMD is going to continue to do. They're going to continue to try to reach some of the moats that Nvidia has. We're seeing it with the CT acquisition that they want to do, kind of the server rack system integration. We're seeing it with a lot of AI software companies to increase that ROCm platform, to increase that AI software development tool. So I think overall it's great news for AMD, but it's not anything mind-blowing that maybe some platforms might be trying to make. Regardless, it is in the right direction. Now we are going to look at their benchmarks, and I'm going to say, I'm going to sound a little bit bitter here, but I want to be definitely honest. So first, let me just say AMD finally submitted their first ML performance training submission. These submissions have been going on for, I want to say, at least 2 years. I've been covering videos like this, but this is the first time they've ever made a training submission. And to me, it's a great indication that AMD is starting to feel comfortable with their products. They believe their products should be showcased and that they're seeing great developments in the software side. So for AMD to finally do this, to finally enter these public benchmarks, it gives me an indication that AMD is getting a lot more confident with their AI chips. And I think that's actually pretty bullish. So again, this was the first time, and we're going to see the MI300, the MI325s in some important models. Now, I do have a caveat or some things that I'm going to complain about. The first thing I'm going to complain about is NVIDIA, when they showcase their AI training, they do it on every single model. Every single model. AMD doesn't. They only did 1 out of the 4, as we're going to see. Let's just kind of look at the overall the overall MLC models. There's actually a nice amount. There's more than 4. AMD with the MI300 and the MI325 only did it for 1 model, and that was the kind of Llama, the Llama 70 billion, not even the largest Llama. NVIDIA did it on all. Again, it's their first time. They're doing probably the one they're really comfortable in. Obviously, we know that Meta has a partnership with AMD, so they probably help them develop and kind of train the ROCm software solution and all these architectures in the hardware to be a little bit more optimized on Llama, right? So there is that strength there. But still, they only chose 1 model. So that's the first caveat. The second one actually comes with this graph right here. And you let me know if maybe I'm being too overcritical. Again, I'm still very bullish that AMD finally did it. But AMD showcases that they're on this platform that the MI325 outperforms the NVIDIA H200 platform by up to 8% when fine-tuning the Llama 2 70B LoRa. So first, 8% faster on training. That is actually pretty impressive, right? We've heard from AMD that they're actually better in inference, but here AMD is saying that they're about 8% faster than the H200 with the MI325. But there are 2 things I'm going to complain about here. 2 things. So they say 8% compare faster than the average. Now, if we look at the average, most of them are actually below 23 or close to 23. There is one outlier that's about 26. I'm going to say the average kind of outweighs maybe a little bit or creates an inconsistency in the actual average. If they probably would have put the 5 that are closer to each other within the 23 or 24 minute, the MI325 will still outperform the H200, but it wouldn't be as large as 8%. Again, I think it's actually pretty impressive that the MI325 is faster than the H200 in the Meta platform or in this Llama training. That's the crucial part. Again, like I mentioned, that partnership with Meta platforms might have helped a lot. The second thing I do want to say, it's like, why are you comparing it to the H200? I know that is the competition, but remember what NVIDIA said. Hopper is less, Blackwell is about 70% of total revenue coming in from Nvidia. So it's the Hopper is fading out. So why comparing it to a system that's about to completely leave Nvidia's revenue segment? Why not compare it to the actual numbers? That was my second caveat. Again, it does showcase that at least they are competitive to the H200. Now we would have to see in the next few months, 6 to 8 months, how the M350 does, because we actually didn't see it here. Maybe they might give us some charts in the in their AI events, but those charts and those numbers are no longer going to be to these types of public domains, right? They could be played around with a little bit. At least with the numbers we get in the benchmark, we know that they are truthfully honest. Then overall, they did kind of showcase that the MI300 is about 4% faster than the H100. Again, why are you comparing it? I'm pretty sure the H100, if you probably look at it, if the Blackwell was 70%, then that means the Hopper was about 30%. And then within the Hopper, I'm going to guess the H200 is a majority of that and not too much on the H100. So why comparing it to a pretty much expired product from Nvidia? But again, I do believe it was actually pretty great for AMD to announce it. So I am very bullish. I like that they did it. It shows that confidence about them. But like I mentioned, one of the things that I'm not too excited about was what they were trying to compare in some of the comparisons. Now, they also kind of showcased that their MI325 was about 30% faster than the MI300, even though it's pretty much the same architecture in there. So you kind of just see that improvements going on with a little bit of everything that AMD has improved over time. Now, I want to look at the benchmarks, right? So if we look at the benchmarks, we're only going to look at the ones that kind of these players submitted. So I'm going to first start off, and this is going to be a little bit weird. So let's just start off with Stable Diffusion. The reason I want to start with Stable Diffusion model is this is the only model that the Google TPU, we're going to look at Google's TPU here, the TPU Trillium kind of showed up in. And they actually did it with 256 total accelerators. So I'm actually going to see how it compares to maybe a 256 NVIDIA accelerator. So unfortunately, we did not see anybody do NVIDIA do a 256. So for 256 TPU Trilliums in this Stable Diffusion, it took Google about 4.4 minutes to do it. Now, what I think is insane, right? So that is 256 TPU Trilliums. NVIDIA in this Dell platform with only 36 accelerators, way less. Remember, Google had 256. Here, NVIDIA with 36 GPUs on the Grace Blackwell product did it in about the same amount of time. Now, that is crazy. I mean, imagine connecting 256 GPUs and kind of powering all that and kind of managing all that, or powering only 36 GPUs and just worrying on cooling on that. So that's why you kind of think about the total cost of ownership. That's a perfect example of why would I want to get 256 of something, right? Imagine getting 256. I don't know how to even explain it, but 256 stoves, I guess, to cook something when you can kind of cook it with something that would only be 36 stoves. Like obviously, the efficiency comes with 36 because now you only need to store 36 stoves instead of 256. I don't know why I went with that analogy or with that example, but that was the first one that came to mind. Regardless, now if we look at the best performance here in about 4 times faster was NVIDIA's was the NVIDIA GB200. Let's see real quick. GB200 with 512 accelerators did it in about 1 minute. So again, it's almost more than 4 times faster with only 2 times more product. So you can see the overall stability there. Now, the next model I want to take a closer look at, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this. I know it's a little bit more technical, and I don't think any other channel is going to do this type of support. So I'm trying to hit 75,000 subs. If I'm providing something useful for free, please hit that thumbs up. It really helps out. And let me know in the comments below. All right, so the next model we're going to look at is the Llama 405 billion parameter. This is the one that Coreweave actually dominated in, right? So Coreweave CoreWeave did one of the biggest in forms of cloud. The other one was actually Nvidia, but I actually believe that this Nvidia CPU system is actually in a CoreWeave system, right? I do believe this is a CoreWeave data center, but it's kind of owned by Nvidia. So Nvidia did it with 8,000 clusters and did it in about 20 minutes. CoreWeave did it in about 2,500 clusters in 27 minutes. So you can see kind of the improvements. We do see other players here. I do believe Nebius is here with 10,024. With 10,024, they did it with 124, but here they did it with H200. So Nebius seems to have more H200 and everything. CoreWeave was one of the only real cloud providers that kind of showcase it with the GB200. So this could be an indication of why maybe the market is preferring CoreWeave over kind of a company like Nebius, right? Nebius didn't showcase any real GB200s in this platform. Now, the final model that we're going to look at is that 70 billion LoRa. That's the one that the AMD was in. So first, let's just pull in to see which is the fastest. The fastest here is 512 NVIDIA GB200s, and it did it in about half a minute. That's insane. Now, somewhere around here, we're going to see the AMD Instinct. So we do have one of the MI300 with 32. And here's when we can kind of see like the MI300 is not that much lower than the H200. And again, AMD is showcasing that at least they are competitive to the Hopper. But can you really say you are competitive to a Hopper when NVIDIA now is in the Blackwell system? We did see kind of the MI325X. And again, the MI325 was better than the H200. So AMD showcase came up, but in my opinion, still is short. Regardless, I am still bullish on AMD, but I would never say that AMD is close to NVIDIA just yet with the MI325. Maybe with the MI350, we might get something else. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I had plenty of fun looking at these numbers. Hopefully, if I didn't bore you too much, take care and see you all next time.